Hi everyone. Today we discuss about the trickiest concept of second language acquisitions. These concepts are very crucial, but not only language acquisitions, but effective language teaching. Second language acquisition means that this is the scientific study of how people learn a language other than their mother tongue. According to Rod Ellis in the year 1997, the select focuses on internal mental processes rather than teaching techniques. Emerging in the 1960s, SLA shifted attention from adults to learners, exploring how input, interaction, errors, cognitions, and emotion shape language development. Second language acquisitions means learning a language that is not your first language. For example, when a person whose first language is Urdu learns English, this process is called SLA. It is not just about memorizing words or grammar rules. The brain slowly learns the language through listening, speaking, reading, and writing. People learn at different speeds, and making mistake is a normal part of SLA. For example, a Pakistani student learning English in school is going through SLA. First, language impact influence. First language influence refers to how a learner's native language shapes second language learning. Robert Lado in the year 1957 argued that learners transfer sounds, grammar, and sentence spectrum from L1 to L2. Later on, Salinger showed this influence is part of interlanguage development, helping learning when structures match and causing errors when they differ. It means your mother tongue affects how you learn a new language. You often use rules from your first language while speaking the second language. Sometimes this helps and sometimes it causes mistakes. An Urdu speaker may say he going school because Urdu sentences do not use helping verbs like English. Interlanguage. Interlanguage is the learner's personal and evolving language system existing between the first language and the target language. Coined by Larry Sanger in the year 1972, it shows that learners actively construct rules rather than imitate natives. This system is systematic, creative, and constantly changing as learners receive new input and feedback. Interlanguage is the personal language system of a learner. It is between the first language and the target language. It keeps changing as the learner improves. Errors interlanguage are normal and show learning. A learner says, just imagine a learner says, she go to market yesterday. This is not correct English, but it shows progress. Fossilization describes the process where incorrect language forms become permanently fixed in a learner's interlanguage. This was introduced by Salenker in 1972. It explains why many adult learners stop improving despite exposure and instruction. Fossilization can occur in grammar, pronunciation, or vocabulary and resist correction over time. Fossilization happens when a learner keeps making the same mistakes and does not correct them, even after many years. This often happens when people can communicate easily despite errors. As we say that a person always say I am angry and never change it, even after correction. Input hypothesis. The input hypothesis proposed by Stephen Krashen in the year 1985. He describes that language acquisition occurs when learners understand meaningful input slightly above the current level. He called it I plus 1. Krashen emphasizes comprehension over grammar teaching, arguing that acquisition happens naturally when learners focus on meaning rather than form. This idea says that learners learn a language when they understand what they hear or read. The language should be a little difficult but still understandable. Is like watching English cartoons with simple language helps beginners learn English naturally. Output hypothesis was introduced by Meryl Swan in 1985 after studying immersion classrooms. She argued that producing language through speaking and writing pushes learners to notice gaps in their language. Output forces learners to test rules, refine grammar, and move beyond passive understanding. Output hypothesis means learners also need to speak and write. When they try to express idea, they realize what they do not know and try to improve. When a student tries to speak English in class, he notices his weak grammar. Affective field hypothesis. Affective filter hypothesis. The affective filter hypothesis was developed by Krashen and explained how emotional factors like anxiety, fear, and low motivation block language acquisition. When the affective filter is high, input cannot reach the brain's language system, even if the learner is exposed to rich language. This theory says emotion affect learning. Fear, stress, and low confidence block learning. A relaxed learner learns better. For example, a student who is afraid of making mistakes speaks less and learns slowly. The next is critical period hypothesis. This hypothesis suggests that there is biologically determined time when language learning is easier. Proposed by Eric Lenningberg in the year 1967, it claims that after puberty, achieving native-like pronunciations becomes difficult due to reduced brain plasticity. This means This idea says children learn language more easily than adults. Adults can learn languages, but pronunciation is hard. As a child learns English accent naturally, but an adult keeps a strong accent. Communicative competence. Communicative competence refers to the ability to use language appropriately in real life situations. Introduced by Delhamins in 1972, it goes beyond grammar to include social rules, context, discourse, and strategies, emphasizing meaningful communication or correctness alone. Communicative competence means knowing how to use language correctly in real life, not just grammar. Is saying like this, could you please help me instead of help me in a formal situation. We say, could you please help me? Implicit learning. Implicit learning is unconscious language acquisition through exposure and interaction. According to Rod Ellis, learners develop implicit knowledge without thinking about rules. This type of learning supports natural fluency and resembles how children acquire their first language. Implicit learning happens naturally without thinking about rules. It develops fluency and accuracy. It develops no, it develops fluency. A child learns English by watching movies, not by studying grammar books. Explicit learning. Explicit learning involves conscious awareness of grammar rules and formal instructions. Alice, in 2005, explains that learners gain explicit knowledge through explanation, correction, and practice, especially in classroom environment. Explicit learning means learning language rules consciously. Learning fast tense rules like go, went in a classroom. Errors with mistake. The distinction between error and mistake was introduced by Corder in 1967. An error reflects incomplete language knowledge, while a mistake is a temporary slip in performance. Errors are systematic and meaningful in understanding learner development. An error happens because the learner does not know the rule. A mistake is a slip that can be corrected. She got home is an error. Got is an error. Mistake. She goes home is a mistake. Or generalization occurs when learners apply one language rule too widely, such as using got instead of went. According to Dolly and Bird, this reflects creative rule formation rather than carelessness. Overgeneralization happens when learners apply one rule everywhere, saying "count" instead of "can." Input versus intake. Input refers to language exposure, while intake is the portion actively processed and learned. Gordon in 1967 explained that learners selectively attend to input based on readiness and attention, meaning not all input becomes intake. Noticing a hypothesis. The noticing hypothesis proposed by Richard Schimm in the year 1990 stamped that learner must consciously notice language forms for acquisitions to occur. Mere exposure is insufficient without awareness. Learner must notice language forms to learn them. A student notices that language questions start with do or does. Motivation. Motivation is are the reason and dynamism inside a person that compel him to take a certain action. Motivation is the psychological drive that sustains language learning. Gardner and Lambert, 1972, identified integrative motivation, cultural interest, and instrumental motivation, that is for practical work, which is promotion, job, etc., as key factors in SLI success. Motivation means the desire to learn. Motivated learners practice more. A student learns English to get a good job and studies daily. Occultation model. The occultation model proposed by John Schwamm in the year 1978 explained SLA through social and cultural integration. Learners acquire language better when social distance from the target communication is reduced. This model says learning improves when learners mix with the language community. A student living in an English-speaking country learns faster. Grammar acquisition order. Grammar acquisition order refers to the natural sequence in which grammatical structures are acquired. Research by Dolly Bert and Krashen shows this order is predictable and independent of teaching sequence. Grammar is learned in natural order and the and not the teaching order. Learners use ing before learning third person. Yes. Form focus instruction. Form focus instruction involves briefly drawing attention to grammar during communication. Michael Long in the year 1991 argued that focusing on form within meaning-based interaction improves accuracy without harming fluency. Grammar is taught while using language, not separately. Teachers correct tense during conversation practice. The last one is the native-like proficiency. Native-like proficiency is a challenging task in second language acquisition. Native-like proficiency refers to achieving language ability comparable to native speakers. According to Birdsong in 1992, this level is rare. This level, is rare among adult learners, especially in pronunciation, leading SLA to value effective communication over perfection. Precisely, we can say that native-like proficiency means speaking like a native speaker. It is rare for adults. A learner speaks fluent English but still has a slight accent. In a nutshell, we can say that second language acquisition shows that learning a new language is a natural, gradual, and complex process, not just the memorization of grammar rules and vocabulary. Throughout these slides, we learn that learners actively build their own language system through input, output, interaction, and practice. Concepts like interlanguage errors and overgeneralization prove that mistakes are signs of learning, not failure. The theories also highlight the strong role of emotions, motivation, and social environment. A relaxed learner with high motivation learns better than a fearful one. Ideas such as the input hypothesis, output hypothesis, and noticing hypothesis show that understanding, speaking, and awareness must work together for real acquisitions to happen. Finally, Insulet teaches us that the goal of language learning is effective communication, not perfect native like speech. Teachers should be patient, learners should be competent, and both should remember that language grows with time, exposure, and meaningful use. Thank you.